Gary Kiesler here, and it's November the 20th, 2025, Thursday. What we're looking at on the screen is an alignment that's going to happen in January 9th, 2026 of a lot of the planets, which this doesn't happen very often. But I want to show you this because it shows the trajectory of an interstellar comet that is in our solar system. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, how that plays out in Revelation 17 with the 7th and 8th world empires, and how these could be signs that Jesus was warning us to watch in Matthew 24. So we're going to talk about that. I want to keep it simple. I've already done another much longer one that I'm going to post after I post this one for a couple of days, so you can pass this around. I'm going to keep this a lot shorter, and there'll be many questions, but the second one hopefully will answer those questions, although it is horribly long and probably stupendously boring. So let's get right on with what we're going to talk about here. If you're switching screens on it, you'll be able to see me for a minute, which is always a good thing. I know you like that. While I go over to this this right here. Now you can see my cursor on the screen right here. So this is an alignment of Jupiter, Earth, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and the Sun. It's going to happen January 9th. They just say that there'll be a lot of solar flares. This is on a video by Stefan, and you can find him on the internet. I'll put the link in the description of this video, so you can just go right to that link and come to this one. He doesn't speculate on the religious, but he does have a very good mind for these things. So let's look at what we're looking at here. So this is January 9th, 2026. Now, 3I Atlas, which was seen first on July the 5th, 2025, this year, coming from, they say, 7 billion years. It's been traveling to get to this point. I don't know about that, but they do know that at that time, or right now, they speculate it's the size of New Jersey and weighs about 33 billion tons is its weight. So it's kind of interesting because also when it gets to Jupiter, it's going to be 33 million miles away. And number 3 is coming up a lot in this 3I Atlas. You know, these 33s. All right, just something to think about. So what we see here is where it's at now. We're going to follow this trajectory over on the left-hand side of the screen. The lower line, it comes in at a slight angle, and it goes above the orbit of Jupiter right here. Then it comes back down a little bit here, so it's going to pass on the far side of Jupiter, and this is going to be on March 19th, 2026. So 3 or 4 months from now, it will be passing behind Jupiter. So as we look at this so far right now, it's past Mars. They made a big thing about it passing Mars because it's the first time it passed a planet. It was really a long way out. As a matter of fact, it's far from Mars, well, a little further from Mars than it will be from the Earth. So when it comes around here, and it's already gone past the Sun, okay, it was earlier this month in November, and now on December 9th, it's going to be at this point, the closest point to the Earth, and that's going to be about 180 million miles. Of course, this is not to scale because Jupiter is many, many times bigger than the Earth, and of course the Sun is many, 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 many times bigger than Jupiter, and many, many times bigger than the Earth. So we see this scale is wrong, but that's okay. It's coming around here. It's going to be close to the backside of Jupiter, 33 million miles. And the thing of it is, they don't show it in here, but Jupiter has its own asteroid belt that's called, and it kind of goes out like this, I think, more of just floating around here, called the Jupiter Trojans, Trojans. So it's out there, and then of course Jupiter has 4 moons, and the largest one is about a quarter of the size of the Earth, so it's fairly large. So all these things are out there. Plus, we do have this asteroid belt floating around, you know, our solar system. So we've got these things that are out there. So far, you know, it hasn't been, because of the angle it's coming in, hasn't been around them too much. But as it hits the Trojans and the moons and Jupiter, not as it hits them, but as it passes them, we don't know what the implications were. Now, what if, you know, we've got this as a timeline to the end? Jesus said to the people of his day that you can see the signs in the weather, but you can't discern the spiritual signs. Well, Jesus talks all over the New Testament, and so does Revelation, about, you know, the stars falling from the skies, and Revelation 8 is a virtual, you know, catastrophe of things hitting the Earth, you know, like 4 waves of different things hitting the Earth from space. So we see that there could be a cataclysm in the atmosphere. We also have another interstellar comet called Lemon out here, and another one called T1 Atlas. And so we're talking about other also comets all of a sudden coming into our solar system. The first one came in 2017, just less than a month after the Revelation 12 sign was almost fulfilled. You know, it was fulfilled, if you're following this, in the constellation Virgo. The sign of what was happening in Revelation 12 appeared in that way with the stars and the planets in that constellation, except for the one sign of the dragon, another star or comet or planet was supposed to be there. What if this is it? Because when it passed out from the sun, Three-Eye Atlas was at the feet of Virgo, as it should have been at that Revelation 12 time. So maybe this is a fulfillment of that. And it does say it was another wonder. It didn't say it had to be simultaneous with the first wonder of the woman clothed with the sun. So that's just something for people that know, have been studying this. So this is what we're seeing. So there is a possibility that we do have a timeline to the end. So if this should disrupt anything in here, you know, it's like dominoes. You know, one falls, many of these things can scatter out. Of course, they're on different levels, and the Earth is traveling around. So we have to see that, well, is it going this way? I'm not sure. Anyway, so we see that these things could take a year, 2 years, 3 years, 3.5 years for these things to actually hit. But once it does hit and disrupt the things on our solar system, we'll know about it. World leaders will know about it. People will want to make, to make plans for this. The leaders will want to make plans. They'll want to inhabit Mars. You know, I can see Elon Musk wanting to move there right away and take Bill Gates with him, although they'll probably fight. But anyway, so we can see that this could make people start thinking in a different way than they're thinking now, and making plans in a different way than they're thinking now. So let's jump out of this screen. I've told you about that. So remember that this could be the very first thing, the sign that Jesus said they should have seen when he was born, that the three wise men that came from the east, they saw it, and they came and they honored Jesus as the King and the Son of God. So let's go from there. Actually, I didn't even have to do that. So you have to look at me. So let's go over here and look at another screen. I didn't want to do this either. All right, escape. Okay, I'm going to come over here and we're going to look at Revelation 17. Well, let's look at something else here. We're going to look at Luke 21, where it tells us we can escape this thing. So let's go here. And if we look at Luke 21:35, it says, "For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth." So the whole world is going to be impacted by something. Could he be talking about the comets hitting the earth in Revelation chapter 8? And what impact will have even before that? What will happen even before that? And watch ye therefore, it says, and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things. All what things? The snare that's going to come on the face of the whole earth, and that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of the Man. So it's talking about immediately being transported away from these things, the sudden snare that's almost ready to come, and to be taken to the presence of the Son of Man. And so that is what we say being raptured. That is what the rapture is about. I'm not going to get into that, but so that's what that is about. So that is like the first thing would be the rapture, then maybe seeing that these comets have broken loose and they're going to be going rogue in the solar system. And then we could perhaps see what Jesus says in Matthew 24, verse 7. He says, "For nation shall rise against nation." This is going to be sudden. It's going to be a worldwide war. And of course, people start thinking differently when they're facing a catastrophe, don't they? They start panicking. They start wanting to get the protections that they need to be protected, at the time that they visualize that this catastrophe would happen. We do that on a personal level. We do it on a national level. "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places." So we see all these starting. Jesus says in verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrow. So once they start, they're not going to end. Fortunately, they only last 7 years. And you can escape all of them if you do it. It says over here in Luke 21:35 and 36. So you should read that. You should read Matthew 24. Let's go to Revelation 17. Now, I'm going to explain just a little bit about this. There's two kingdoms to come, and currently we're in that's verse 10. I know where this is. There are 7 kings. John is writing in the time of Rome. So he's living in the time of Rome. There are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. He's talking about the 1 is the Roman Empire, the empire that he's under, right there. The 7 kings are seen in the statue in Daniel chapter 2, but they're only seen from the viewpoint of Nebuchadnezzar forward, so he only gives 4. But if you look at the 7, you've got Persia, Media-Persia, Syria, Egypt, Greece, and then Rome. So you've got those. There might be a little off in those things, and Rome is the 1 that is. So we have the 1 and 1 is, and so Rome is in his time. And he says, and there is, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So there's going to be another short world empire after that, and by that he means the 7 years of the 2 beasts, the 2 kind of forms of the same empire in Revelation chapter 13. The 7 years, that will be the short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and of the 7. That's Satan, because he was on earth, and then he is not on earth, okay? Then he's going to be cast down to earth, it says in Revelation, and so he's going to be one of the 7 as Satan on the earth, and part of the second part of Revelation 13, 2 kingdoms that make up the last 7 years. Okay, so we've got that. Now, that's all you need to know there, except this first kingdom. Okay, and this is going to come in after the war. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. The first kingdom is going to be a great whore that sits upon many waters. Now, many waters refers to nations. So this is something that sits upon many nations. It's kind of like the United Nations, or Rome, or something else, the Abrahamic Accords, that could sit on many waters. Okay, so they get their power from the acquiescence of other leaders, and we'll see this later on where we're not going to look, but she has horns, and these horns are the kingdoms, and the beast that she rides on also has these kingdoms under his power. So, but what kind of a kingdom is the great whore is going to have is going to be one based in fornication. Okay, and the inhabitants of the whole earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So after the 144,000 are killed in the first 3.5 years of the 7 years, then the inhabitants of the earth are going to be drunk. Literally, they're going to be so powerful, thinking that maybe they've had DNA and changes made to their bodies, and perhaps even there's more of the things like the Nephilim that happened earlier coming in, and so they're going to be thinking this is so great, we're so powerful, when actually they're just really the very end of the very end. So we see that this woman, same woman right here, a woman, okay, same woman as above, she was riding a scarlet-colored beast full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, so that's his real power base, okay? Her power base is this religion, and he's got the power base of some countries. Now we're going to see down here at the bottom of this where the beast hates the woman, and right there, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, okay, he's got the military power. These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Sounds like the destroyer with a nuclear weapon to me. So we can see that is all coming in the future, and that will happen at the end of the first 3.5 years, because that first beast in Revelation 13 has a 42-month lifespan. It says in 13:5, and he kills the saints in 13:7, and that's the same as Matthew 24:9. Where it talks about the killing of the saints there. So we see those things being concurrent. So we've got this religion, this theocracy, being backed up by a military power, which has a coup at the middle of time. And we also see this in Daniel chapter 7, what it talks about there. It talks about 10 horns and then a little horn rising. And the 10 horns would be the first 3.5 years. The little horn would rise, and it says it destroys 3 of the horns, and then that's when we see the second part of the more military part come in for the last 3.5 years of the 7 years. Oh, so we see that. So let me just read my notes here. I think that'll explain a lot, and then I can be done. I don't want to give you too much in this one. Like I said, I've already done another one much longer than this where I do explain this, but I'm just going to read this. I did have this so I could get it to move over here somehow, and I don't know how I did that before. Maybe I just grab this, nope. Oh, I really would like to shift over, but it won't. All right. Okay, so these are my notes on Revelation 17:1. The woman and the beast together are a new world order after the war that destabilizes all the governments of the world. So we talked about the rapture being first. This sign may be first. This collision could be the rapture, then the collision of 3-1 Atlas, and then or it could be the opposite way, the collision, and then the rapture at some point in there where, the people that went to the wedding feast, they knew the bridegroom was coming in Matthew 25. They saw the signs, and so they knew that this was a sign. So us seeing this collision, maybe at some point between now and June, might be the sign that makes us to light our lamps and keep our lamps burning, for the rapture. So the woman and the beast together represent our new world order after the war that destabilizes all the governments of the world. The woman represents a religious theocracy, religion over state, possibly something like that, like what the United Nations would impose if it were in control of the military capability to implement it. To implement what? To implement a religious power, letting that take over because of the Great Transition, because you've got Islam, you've got Christians, you've got Judaism, and she's going to change it all to the centers of the earth, all worshiping this kind of foreign, pagan, temple prostitute type of religion. Okay, so we see that there, and then so possibly with a female heading the religion of the beast, as we see it here in the same in Daniel, where the beast is seen overthrowing the woman in Daniel 7:20, where 3 horns fell. I already told you about that. And so then we've already seen the woman burning in Revelation 17, 16, and 17. So we see that. So it is the beast that the woman rides. That is the abomination of desolation that we see in Matthew 24:15, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, Luke 20:120, and Daniel 13. So now we have to ask ourselves, what signs precede this 7-year tribulation? And we've already talked about that more or less, but I'll just go over it again. 1, the rapture of the believers. All right, so we see that. That's the first thing that will happen. Or it could be the second if we need to see the sign in heaven where 3-eye Atlas hits something in space and starts causing a domino effect. So that could be the first, and the rapture could be the second. That causes nations to get very upset, probably starting to go to war, which is the second sign. Okay, so I give you the verses there. And in this one, we see that in Luke 17:29, we see that Sodom is destroyed the same way. Jesus says in the same way, because this is all prophecy right in there in Luke 17, in the same way that Sodom was destroyed, the end of the world is going to come. So Sodom's destroyed, but some people get to flee and get out. And that would be, again, the rapture. So that's another point for the rapture. Then point 3, what event might be in play right now to foresee a timing of these prophecies? And then so then I give this part right here, the verse. Okay, so it will precede that. For all these prophecies, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Jesus says this many times in these verses. Revelation chapter 8 is totally about these things hitting the earth very bad. I've got this on the screen so I can show you that in a minute. So we see that, and then what could precede all of that? 3-eye Atlas hitting something, and that's really all I want to talk about that. Let's go over here to Revelation 8, and I'll just show you where Revelation 8 talks about these events that are going to come over the earth, the trumpets. And the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. Something is cast, hail and fire is mingled with blood. They were cast upon the earth. That sounds like, iron is kind of reddish in the comet form, and cast upon the earth, and a third part of the trees will burn up. Now, it doesn't mean that just all of 1/3, like every third tree in the whole world, but it could hit in sections, like hail hits, some parts will be hailing and some parts will be raining, and so the hail, the meteors, comets, asteroids might fall down and burn up one section of Earth, like 1/3 might be burned. That could destroy one big, political or military unit, and then from then on, we're carrying on with the leaders of the earth being very upset. But remember, this is after the rapture. This is, after we know that 3-eye Atlas has hit something, and this is after the war. has started, and we're into the tribulation periods now. Matter of fact, I believe that this is actually the start of the last 3.5 years. This is called God's wrath, and so God says, "Vengeance is mine," and this is actually called the days of vengeance in the Bible. So I believe this is the vengeance of God. So then the second angel sounded, and what do we see? A great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. So where are all these things coming from? Well, they're coming from outer space. They didn't get here all of a sudden. People, we were probably seeing them coming. And so we see that the ships were destroyed, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, as it were a lamp, and fell upon the third part of the waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. We've all heard about wormwood from the movies and everything else, and nobody's happy about that. But again, if you're following Jesus, you won't be here. So I think that's, and this is a good one too. And the fourth angel sounded, and a third of the sun was smitten, a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part. So the day is only going to be 16 hours long. It's not going to be 24 hours long. And it says in the Bible that the Antichrist seeks to change the signs and the seasons. Well, because basically you're only getting a third of the day going on. So you're going to have to come back and look at me now, I guess, again. But I just hope, this is kind of sad, but we can look forward to this too and say, maybe this won't happen. Maybe this guy's wrong, which is fine with me. I still believe in the rapture, but because there's so many prophecies in there, puts it all together that this could possibly be a scenario that would work. And it could possibly be something that, we need to really watch out for. And so we need to keep close to God, and we need to keep watching. It says in Luke 21:32, "Fear not, little flock, for it's my Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." So I hope you're ready for that. I hope you repent of your sins, lead others to Jesus, and get ready for this time that may be coming on the earth. Hope you're not too sad. Keep a good heart, because we're not going to be here for that. God bless. See you in heaven if I never get to meet you down here.